The big space station hung in the darkness between stars. Inside its crystal walls, creatures from 47 different worlds sat in a huge round room. They had come here to talk about humans. Most of them did not like humans very much. Jake Martinez sat at a small table with two other humans. He wore a simple black suit. Next to him sat Colonel Lisa Brown, a soldier with short hair and sharp eyes. On his other side was Dr. Alex Turner, a scientist who kept writing notes on a small computer. The aliens around them looked very different from humans. Some had 4 arms, others had big bug eyes. A few looked like living clouds of gas, but they all had one thing the same. They thought humans were weak and stupid. At the front of the room stood a tall creature with scales like a snake. His name was Veltar. He was the leader of the Zephyrian Empire. He had 4 arms and golden eyes that never blinked. When he smiled, his teeth looked like knives. "Friends from across the galaxy," Veltar said in a loud voice, "today we will fix the human problem once and for all." Many aliens in the room made happy sounds. The bug-like cricks clicked their teeth together. The gas clouds changed colors to show they were pleased. Everyone seemed excited except the 3 humans. Jake Martinez did not move. His face showed nothing. He just sat and listened while Veltar kept talking. "Humans have been a trouble for too long," Veltar said. "They build cities on planets we want. They refuse to follow our rules. They act like they are equal to us." He laughed, and it sounded like rocks falling. "Today we give them one last chance to be smart." A big picture appeared in the air above the room. It showed words in many different languages. Jake had already read these words many times. He knew what they said. "Our terms are fair," Veltar announced. "Humans will give us 70% of everything valuable on Earth. Half of all humans will move to work camps on other planets. You will get rid of all your weapons and soldiers. We will watch over all human planets to make sure you behave." A bug creature named Zektar made a chittering laugh. "Should we tell them what happens if they say no?" Veltar's smile got bigger. "Yes, let us be clear. If humans refuse our kind offer, we will destroy them. Our ships will blow up all human military bases. We think it will take about 3 days to make humans surrender completely." The room became very quiet. All the aliens looked at the 3 humans, waiting to see them beg and cry. This always happened when the council made these kinds of demands. Weaker species always gave up, but Jake Martinez just sat there. Colonel Brown put her hand near her weapon, but Jake touched her arm and she stopped. Dr. Turner kept writing on his computer like nothing important was happening. "You have 48 hours to give us your answer," Veltar said. "I am sure you will make the right choice." He hit a button and announced, "This meeting is over." The aliens started to leave. Many of them looked at the humans and laughed. They whispered to each other about how scared the humans must be. Zektar stopped next to Jake's table. "I almost feel sorry for your kind," he said. "You try so hard to be independent, but you have no idea how weak you really are." Jake looked up at the big bug creature. His blue eyes were calm and steady. "Thank you for caring about us." Something in Jake's voice made Zektar's long feelers twitch. He felt confused for a moment, but then he decided it was nothing and walked away. When all the aliens had left, only the 3 humans remained in the big room. Dr. Turner finally spoke. "Well, that went exactly like we thought it would, Colonel." Brown leaned back in her chair. 48 hours. Is that enough time?" Jake stood up and fixed his jacket. "More than enough time. Alex, send the secret message to Earth. Tell them the weather looks stormy." "Already sent," Dr. Turner said, closing his computer. "Protocol 7 is now working." The 3 humans picked up their things and walked toward the door. Behind them, the big picture still glowed in the empty room. It showed all the demands the aliens wanted humans to accept, but the humans had never planned to accept them. They had been preparing for this day for many years. The aliens thought they were weak and scared, Soon, they would learn how wrong they were. Jake Martinez had been Earth's top diplomat for 15 years. He had talked to aliens from across the galaxy. He had learned their languages and their customs, but most importantly, he had learned their weaknesses. The aliens thought humans were primitive because they did not have the same technology. They thought humans were weak because they did not have big armies in space. They thought humans were stupid because they did not immediately bow down to the Council's power. All of these thoughts were mistakes. Big mistakes. As the three humans walked through the hallways of the space station, other aliens stared at them. Some pointed and whispered. They could not believe that anyone would dare to reject the Council's demands. "Sir," Colonel Brown said, quietly, "the alien stress levels are very high. They are more confused than we have ever seen them." Dr. Turner looked out a window at the stars. "Phase 1 is complete. They have no idea what they just started." Jake allowed himself a small smile as they reached their ship. 46 hours until they learn what real power looks like. Back in the meeting room, the aliens were making plans to destroy humanity. They had no idea that they had just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. The humans had walked away from the peace talks. But they were not walking away in fear. They were walking away to begin a war that would change everything. On Earth, secret messages were already moving through hidden networks. Weapons that had been built in secret were powering up. People who had been pretending to be simple colonists were getting ready to fight. The Galactic Council thought they were about to destroy humanity. Instead, they were about to learn that the most dangerous enemy is the one you underestimate. Jake Martinez looked out at the stars as their ship prepared to leave. In 46 hours, those same stars would light up with the fire of battle. But this time, humanity would not be the victim. This time, humanity would show the galaxy what it meant to be free. The second day came quickly. The big meeting room filled with aliens again. They all looked happy and excited. Supreme Chancellor Veltar took his place at the front. His golden eyes shined with joy. He expected the humans to surrender today. "Here come the humans," Veltar announced when he saw the three people enter the room. "I am sure your species has made the smart choice." Jake Martinez walked to the center of the room. His steps echoed in the quiet space. Colonel Brown and Dr. Turner stayed at their table. They both looked relaxed and calm. "Supreme Chancellor, honored delegates," Jake began. His voice was clear and strong. "Humanity has reached a decision about your offer." All the aliens leaned forward. They wanted to hear the humans beg for mercy. They wanted to see them accept the Council's power. Jake put his hands behind his back. He looked directly at Veltar. "We say no." The words were simple and clear, but the aliens did not understand at first. Veltar tilted his head like a confused dog. "I am sorry. Could you say that again?" Veltar asked. "We say no to your terms," Jake repeated. "All of them." Suddenly, the room exploded with noise. The bug creatures buzzed and clicked. The gas clouds changed colors rapidly. The crystal beings made high sounds of shock. Veltar spread his forearms wide. He could not believe what he was hearing. "You refuse? Do you not remember what we told you yesterday?" "We remember everything," Jake said, calmly. "Then you choose death over a reasonable deal?" Veltar's voice got louder. "Your species would rather die than accept our protection?" Jake turned to face all the aliens in the room. He looked each group in the eyes. "We choose freedom." Jake walked back to his table. Colonel Brown and Dr. Turner were already standing. Their bags were packed. Without saying another word, all three humans turned and walked toward the door. "Where are you going?" Veltar shouted. His voice was full of anger and confusion. "We did not say this meeting was over." Jake stopped at the doorway. He did not turn around. "The talks are finished, Supreme Chancellor. Have a nice day." The three humans disappeared through the door. They left behind a room full of shocked aliens. For many minutes, nobody spoke. The idea of a species just walking away from council talks was so strange that many could not understand it. Finally, Zektar made his clicking laugh. Amazing. They actually think they can survive our attack. Primitive species often act crazy when faced with superior force, said the crystal being. Its voice sounded like music, but sad music. Their fear has probably broken their minds. Veltar slowly got control of himself. His face became cold and hard. Very well. If humanity chooses the hard way, we will give it to them. All council, fleets will begin moving immediately. We will start destroying them in exactly 46 hours and 17 minutes. All the aliens made sounds of approval. Finally, they would show the galaxy what happened to species that said no to the council. Outside the meeting room, Jake and his team walked calmly through the hallways. Other aliens they passed stared openly. Some pointed at the humans who had dared to reject the council's demands. "Sir," Colonel Brown said quietly, "I am reading very high stress from most of the alien delegates. Their confusion levels are higher than we have ever seen." Dr. Turner looked out a window at the stars around the space station. "Phase 1 is done. They have no idea what they just triggered." Jake smiled a little as they reached their ship. 46 hours until they learned the difference between conquest and suicide. Behind them, the Council kept planning humanity's destruction. They did not know they had just activated the most advanced defense system in galactic history. The aliens thought the humans were running away in fear. They thought refusing the Council's demands was an act of desperation. They thought humanity would spend the next 46 hours begging for mercy. They were wrong about everything. As the human ship left the space station, secret signals were already flying across the galaxy. On distant planets, humans who had been living quietly among alien populations began to move. Equipment that had been hidden for years started to power up. Networks that had been built in secret came online. Jake sat in the pilot's seat of their small ship. "Alex, confirm that all our people received the signal." Dr. Turner checked his computers. "Confirmed. Every human colony, every trade post, every diplomatic station, they all know that Protocol 7 is active." "What about the defense platforms?" Colonel Brown asked. "Online and ready. Dr. Webb reports that all systems are functioning perfectly. The aliens are about to get the biggest surprise in galactic history." Jake set course for Earth. "Good. Let them think we are weak. Let them think we are scared. In 46 hours, they will learn what humanity is really capable of." The small human ship jumped to faster-than-light speed. Behind them, the massive Council fleet began gathering. 700 ships from 30 different species, all preparing to destroy what they thought was a defenseless planet. On the Council space station, Veltar stood in his private office. He looked out at the stars and felt satisfied. Soon, the galaxy would see what happened to species that defied the Council. "Sir," his assistant entered the room, "we have received reports from our intelligence networks. The humans appear to be in complete communication blackout. No signals are coming from any human world." "Perfect," Veltar said. "They know their resistance is hopeless. They are probably preparing to surrender." But the assistant looked worried. "Sir, is it not strange that they would cut all communications? Usually, species in this situation send many messages begging for mercy." Veltar waved his hand dismissively. "Fear affects different species in different ways. Some beg, others become silent. It does not matter. The result will be the same." What Veltar did not know was that humanity's silence was not born of fear. Every moment of communication blackout allowed human engineers to fine-tune their systems without the aliens detecting anything. 20 years ago, when the Council first contacted humanity, most Earth leaders had been excited to join the galactic community. But a few smart people had noticed disturbing patterns. They saw how the Council treated species that did not immediately submit. The Altarian civilization had vanished without a trace. The Rigel colonies had been destroyed by a mysterious plague. The Proximan fleet had suffered convenient technical failures when they tried to leave Council space. These few humans had started Protocol 7. While diplomats talked and traded, scientists and engineers had been preparing for this exact moment. Dr. Caroline Webb had been the lead scientist on the project. For 20 years, she had worked in secret facilities hidden throughout the solar system. She had developed technologies that the Council could not imagine. Barrier generators that could stop faster-than-light travel. Harmonic disruptors that could disable alien weapons. Orbital platforms that were invisible to Council sensors. And now, as the Council fleet prepared to attack, all of these systems were coming online. Jake's ship reached Earth just as the sun was setting over North America. He could see the planet's orbital stations, but he knew that what he could see was only a tiny fraction of humanity's true defenses. "Welcome home, Ambassador," came a voice over the radio. It was Admiral Kate Morgan, the commander of Earth's Defense Forces. "Thank you, Admiral. Status report?" "All systems are green. Dr. Webb's barrier generators are synchronized and ready. General Phillips reports that resistance cells on every Council world are in position. We are ready for them." Jake looked at Earth turning slowly below. "Good. Because in 45 hours, the Council is going to learn that the age of bullying weaker species is over." The human ship landed at a secret facility hidden in the mountains. As Jake stepped onto the ground of his home planet, he could feel the hum of powerful machines deep underground. Humanity had walked away from the peace talks. But they had not walked away in defeat. They had walked away to begin something that would change the galaxy forever. The Council thought they were about to destroy another weak species. Instead, they were about to discover that humanity had been preparing for this war for 20 years. And humanity was ready. Deep under Mount Weather, President Ryan Hayes stood in a secret command center. The room was huge and filled with hundreds of computers. Bright screens showed information about Earth and the space around it. People in military uniforms worked, at their stations, watching data that would confuse most observers. "Mr. President," Admiral Kate Morgan walked over from the communications area. Her uniform was neat, even though she had been working for 18 hours straight. "We got Ambassador," Martinez's signal. "Protocol 7 is fully active." Hayes nodded. His face was serious and determined. "How long until we are ready?" 34 hours, sir. We will be finished well before the deadline." Across the command center, General Dan Phillips was talking to resistance groups on dozens of human colony worlds. His rough voice carried clearly as he spoke into his headset. "Phoenix Base, this is Control. Confirm all assets are in position." Static noise crackled before an answer came through. "Control," Phoenix Base confirms. "All packages delivered and armed. Waiting for final authorization." Phillips looked up at the president. "Sir, our people are ready. Every human colony world now has active resistance networks prepared to execute simultaneous operations." Hayes walked to the main console where Dr. Caroline Webb worked. She was the creator of Protocol 7. The scientist looked tired but determined. Data scrolled rapidly on the screens around her. "Caroline, give me the status on the barrier generators." "All 300 units are online and working together," she reported. "The field inhibitors are operating at full power. Any ship trying to enter human space will find their faster-than-light drives completely dead." "And the feedback systems?" "Even better than we hoped. We have been scanning Council fleet movements for the past 6 months. Their weapon systems are vulnerable to harmonic disruption at frequencies we can generate from the orbital platforms." Hayes felt a moment of satisfaction. 20 years ago, when the Council had first made contact with humanity, most world leaders had been eager to join the galactic community. But a few smart people had noticed troubling patterns in how the Council treated species that did not immediately obey. The disappearance of the Altarian civilization, the mysterious plague that had killed the independent Rigel colonies, the convenient technical failures that had destroyed the Proximan fleet when they tried to withdraw from Council space. Protocol 7 had been humanity's insurance policy. It was developed in secret installations hidden throughout the solar system. While Earth's diplomats had engaged in seemingly endless negotiations, its scientists and engineers had been preparing for this exact moment. Admiral Morgan, Hayes, called out, "Status of the Council fleets?" "Moving exactly as predicted, sir. 47 battle groups from 30 different species. They are gathering at staging areas approximately 12 light-years from Earth. Let them come," Phillips said with anger in his voice. "They will get the surprise of their lives." On the far side of the galaxy, Veltar stood in the command center of his flagship, the Celestial Dominion. The massive warship was the pride of the Zephyrian fleet. It had weapons that could turn planets into melted rock. "Status report," he demanded from his tactical officer. "All Council fleets report ready, Supreme Chancellor. We have 734 vessels prepared for the operation. Long-range scans show no significant human military activity." Veltar's golden eyes gleamed with anticipation. "Of course not. They know their resistance is pointless. Have they tried to communicate surrender terms?" "No, sir. In fact, all human. Communication networks have gone completely silent. We are detecting no transmissions from any human world. Fear," Veltar decided with satisfaction. "They are paralyzed by the reality of their situation. Begin the approach. I want to be in position to start bombardment exactly on schedule." What the Supreme Chancellor could not know was that humanity's silence was not born of fear, but of preparation. Every second of communication blackout allowed Dr. Webb's teams to fine-tune their systems without revealing their capabilities to Council intelligence networks. Back on Earth, President Hayes received the final status reports. "Sir," Admiral Morgan announced, "all systems show green across the board. We are ready for them." Hayes activated the communication system that would reach every human commander in the galaxy. "This is actual. Operation Homecoming is authorized. Execute on my mark." He looked at the countdown timer showing the time remaining until the Council's deadline. 18 hours and 37 minutes. "God help us all," he whispered, then pressed the authorization key. Across human space, invisible, systems that had been decades in the making hummed to life. They were ready to teach the Galactic Council the difference between civilization and tyranny. Dr. Webb worked at her station, monitoring the activation of systems that the Council could not even imagine. "Mr. President, all barrier generators are now synchronized. The Alcubierre field inhibitors are creating a zone around human space where faster-than-light travel is impossible." "Weapons disruption?" Hayes asked. "Active and tested. We have been conducting passive scans of Council technology for months. Their targeting systems operate on frequencies we can jam. Their energy weapons use power sources we can overload. They will be flying blind and shooting blanks. On colony, worlds throughout Council space, humans who had been living peacefully among alien populations for years suddenly became very busy. Sarah Kim, who ran a small electronics repair shop on the Centaurian world of Proxima 7th, opened a hidden compartment in her workshop. Inside were devices that looked like simple tools, but were actually sophisticated sabotage equipment. Sarah had been preparing for this day for 8 years. She and 47 other humans on Proxima 7th had built a complete resistance network. "This is Phoenix 7, she spoke into a concealed communicator. "All targets identified and marked. Ready to execute on command." Similar messages were being sent from human communities across the galaxy. Restaurant owners, teachers, mechanics, traders, and farmers were all revealing themselves to be part of a vast intelligence network. On the industrial world of Kepler Station, Maintenance worker Mike Chen had spent 3 years learning the layout of the planet's main power distribution center. Tonight, he would use that knowledge to shut down industrial production across an entire star system. On the diplomatic world of Harmony Prime, embassy clerk Lisa Park had been copying classified Council military communications for 2 years. Tomorrow, those communications would be broadcast across the galaxy, revealing Council war crimes that had been hidden for centuries. Back in the Mount Weather Command Center, General Phillips coordinated with these resistance cells. All stations, this is Control. Execute Phase 1 immediately. Across the galaxy, the quiet human communities that the Council had barely noticed suddenly struck like lightning. Power stations failed. Communication networks went down. Transportation systems stopped working. Industrial facilities shut down. But it was not random destruction. The humans targeted specific systems that would create maximum disruption with minimum loss of life. They had studied Council infrastructure for 20 years and knew exactly which systems to hit. "Sir," Admiral Morgan reported, "we are receiving confirmation from resistance cells across Council space. Phase 1 is complete. Critical infrastructure on 37 Council worlds has been disabled." Hayes nodded grimly. "Phase 2? Dr. Webb looked up from her console. "Barrier generators are now at full power. Any Council ship that enters human space will find itself trapped in normal space with no way to escape. Weapons disruption. Online and ready. The moment they try to fire on any human installation, their own weapons will turn against them." Hayes looked at the main display showing the positions of Council fleets. "They still think this is going to be easy." "Let them think that," Phillips said. "In 18 hours, they will learn that humanity does not surrender. We fight. And when we fight, we win." The countdown timer continued to tick down toward the moment when the Council fleet would arrive at Earth. But with each passing minute, humanity's defensive systems grew stronger. The aliens thought they were hunting prey. They had no idea they were walking into the most sophisticated trap in galactic history. Protocol 7 was more than just a defense system. It was humanity's declaration that the age of Council domination was over. From now on, species would be free to choose their own destiny. And if the Council wanted to challenge that freedom, they would learn what it meant to fight a species that had been preparing for war for 20 years. The trap was set. The hunters were coming. And humanity was ready to show them who the real predators were. Supreme Chancellor Veltar stood on the bridge of the Celestial Dominion as the massive Council fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. 734 warships representing the combined might of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations hung in space like hungry beasts ready to feed. "Tactical assessment," Veltar commanded. His tactical officer, a creature with many arms named Hextor, worked his controls with smooth movements. "Sir, I am detecting minimal human activity. A few scattered patrol vessels, some civilian traffic. No significant military response." "As expected," Veltar replied with satisfaction. "They are hoping we will show mercy if they do not resist." What the Supreme Chancellor could not see were the hundreds of invisible platforms that had been silently watching the Council fleet since the moment they entered normal space. Dr. Caroline Webb's barrier generators were more than just defensive systems. They were sophisticated sensor networks that had been mapping Council technology for years. "Signal all ships," Veltar ordered. "Begin movement toward Earth. Maintain battle formation." The fleet began moving forward, but within minutes, worried. Reports started flooding the command channels. "Dominion Control, this is Battle Group 7. We are experiencing propulsion problems." "Control, Group 12 reporting similar issues. Our faster-than-light drives are completely unresponsive." Veltar's confident expression began to change. "Hextor, what is happening to our ships?" The tactical officer's many arms danced across his controls as he processed incoming data. "Sir, Every vessel in the fleet is reporting the same phenomenon. Their FTL drives are dead. We are limited to normal propulsion only. Impossible. Run a full diagnostic on our systems. Minutes passed as the Zephyrian engineers worked frantically. Finally, Chief Engineer Colvin approached the command platform. His 4 eyes reflected confusion and worry. Supreme Chancellor, our drives are undamaged but completely dead. It is as if space itself is preventing faster-than-light travel. Veltar's golden eyes narrowed. A weapon? Unknown, sir. We have never encountered anything like this. As the Council fleet continued its slow advance at normal speeds, more problems began appearing. Ships reported navigation errors, communication disruptions, and power fluctuations that their engineers could not explain. On Earth, President Hayes watched the enemy fleet's progress with grim satisfaction. "They are completely blind, Admiral," Morgan reported. "Dr. Webb's systems are working perfectly. Their ships are essentially flying through thick liquid." "Weapons status?" Hayes asked. "All orbital platforms are armed and ready. But, sir, we may not need them." Hayes raised an eyebrow. "Explain." General Phillips pointed to the tactical display. "Our intelligence was correct about their weapon systems. They are designed for overwhelming firepower against targets that cannot move, but Dr. Webb's harmonic disruptors are creating interference patterns that their targeting systems cannot handle. Back in space, the Council fleet found itself facing increasingly serious problems. When they tried to lock weapons onto human orbital installations, their targeting computers reported impossible readings. "Sir," Hextor reported, his voice tight with worry, "our weapons are unable to acquire target locks on any human installation. The targeting computers say the targets do not exist, but visual confirmation shows they are clearly there." Veltar's reptilian features twisted with rage. "Override the computers. Fire manually." "We have tried, sir. The weapons physically refuse to discharge. It is as if they are encountering some kind of feedback that prevents activation." The Supreme Chancellor stared at the holographic display showing Earth growing slowly larger ahead of them. For the first time in his career, he was facing an enemy that fought in ways the Council could not understand or counter. "Get me a communication link to the human government," he ordered. "Sir, we cannot establish any communication with human space. Our signals are being dampened or redirected." As if summoned by his growing desperation, a new signal suddenly appeared on their communication array. The main screen flickered, then showed the image of a human facility. President Hayes sat behind a simple desk, flanked by Admiral Morgan and General Phillips. "Supreme Chancellor Veltar," Hayes began, his voice calm and measured. "I believe you are experiencing some technical difficulties." Veltar's 4 arms shook with fury. "What have you done to our ships?" "We have done nothing to your ships," Hayes replied truthfully. "We have simply modified the space around our territory to be less hospitable to uninvited guests." "This is an act of war." Hayes smiled coldly. "No, Supreme Chancellor. What you attempted was an act of war. What we have done is defend ourselves. Your fleet is welcome to remain where it is indefinitely, or you may withdraw to a safe distance and request negotiations through proper diplomatic channels." "You cannot possibly believe this trick will save your species." "I believe," Hayes said, standing from his chair, "that your 47 battle groups are currently stranded at the edge of our system, with no faster-than-light capability, no functional weapons, and no way to call for reinforcement. I also believe that by now you are receiving reports from every Council world with a human population." Veltar's eyes widened as the implication hit him. His communication officer was already receiving priority messages from across Council space. "Supreme Chancellor," the officer reported with barely controlled panic. "We are receiving emergency transmissions from 17 Council worlds. They are reporting coordinated uprisings by human civilian populations. Infrastructure is being systematically disabled. Hayes nodded. 20 years of peaceful human immigrants and traders, Chancellor, all of them apparently quite skilled at improvised engineering. Funny how nobody ever bothered to ask what they were really building during all those years of cultural exchange. The transmission ended, leaving Veltar staring at a blank screen while reports of chaos flooded in from across the galaxy. The humans had not just rejected the Council's authority, they had systematically undermined it from within. For the first time in Council history, they were the ones who were trapped. Back on Earth, the command center buzzed with activity as reports came in from across the galaxy. "Sir," General Phillips announced, "resistance cells report complete success on 37 worlds. Council military communications are down. Industrial production has stopped. Transportation networks are paralyzed." Dr. Webb looked up from her console. "The Council fleet is completely immobilized. Their ships are trapped in normal space, and their weapon systems are experiencing cascading failures." Admiral Morgan smiled grimly. "They have no idea how long we have been preparing for this moment." Hayes nodded. 20 years of planning, 20 years of placing our people in position, 20 years of studying their technology and finding its weaknesses. On the Celestial Dominion, Veltar was receiving more bad news with each passing minute. "Sir," his intelligence officer reported, "we are getting reports from across Council space. Human populations that we thought were simple immigrants and traders have revealed themselves to be highly trained operatives. They have targeted critical infrastructure with surgical precision." "How many worlds are affected?" 37 and counting, sir. "The reports indicate that humans have been building underground networks for years. They know our systems better than we do." Veltar slammed his fist on the command console. "This is impossible. How could primitive humans have planned something this sophisticated?" But even as he asked the question, he was beginning to understand the truth. Humans were not primitive. They had been pretending to be weak while building the most advanced intelligence network in galactic history. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we are receiving a message from Earth. They want to speak with you again." The screen flickered back to life, showing President Hayes once more. "Chancellor," Hayes said, "I wanted to give you an update on the situation. As of this moment, 37 Council worlds have lost critical infrastructure. Your fleet is immobilized in our system, and every human colony in Council space has declared independence." "What do you want?" Veltar asked through gritted teeth. "We want you to leave," Hayes said simply. "Take your ships and go home. Think very carefully about whether you want to continue this conflict." "And if we refuse?" Hayes's smile was cold as winter. "Then you will discover that what you have experienced so far is just the beginning. We have been preparing for this war for 20 years, Chancellor. How long have you been preparing to fight us?" The transmission ended again, leaving Veltar alone with the terrible realization that humanity had completely outmaneuvered the Council. The hunters had become the hunted, and they had no idea how to escape the trap. 3 months after the failed invasion of human space, the Galactic Council chambers looked very different from the proud assembly that had once given ultimatums. Half the delegate seats sat empty. Their occupants were dealing with crises on their home worlds. Those who remained looked tired and desperate. Supreme Chancellor Veltar's once beautiful ceremonial robes hung loosely on his thin frame. The confident reptilian leader who had commanded respect through fear now moved nervously as he waited for the human delegation to arrive. "They are coming," announced Crick's delegate Zektar. His compound eyes tracked movement in the corridor. The insectoid's mandibles clicked anxiously. This was very different from his previous dismissive laughter. Ambassador Jake Martinez entered the chamber as he had months before, but everything else had changed. Colonel Lisa Brown walked beside him wearing the insignia of a newly promoted general. Dr. Alex Turner carried himself with the confidence of someone whose theories had reshaped galactic politics. Behind them came a surprise that sent ripples of shock through the assembled delegates. Admiral Kate Morgan, whose fleet now controlled 3 major trade routes, and General Dan Phillips, whose strategic brilliance had coordinated the most successful rebellion in galactic history. Martinez approached the central platform with measured steps. But this time no one doubted who held the power in the room. "Honored delegates," Martinez began, his voice carrying easily through the chamber, "we have received your request for negotiations." Veltar struggled to maintain his dignity as he responded. "Ambassador Martinez, the Council appreciates your willingness to discuss terms for ending the current misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" Martinez raised an eyebrow. "Is that what we are calling attempted genocide now?" Uncomfortable silence filled the chamber. The Vorthak delegate, crystalline singer of depths, made a low sound indicating distress. "Perhaps we could focus on resolving the current crisis. The economic disruption is affecting billions of beings." General Phillips stepped forward, checking a tablet that displayed real-time intelligence data. "The economic disruption is indeed significant. Human-controlled trade routes have reduced Council commerce by 67%. Your industrial worlds are experiencing critical supply shortages." "This cannot continue," Veltar protested. "You are holding the entire galaxy hostage." Admiral Morgan's expression remained neutral as she responded. "We are simply exercising our right to free association. Human colonies that choose independence are no longer required to provide resources to Council worlds. Human traders are free to conduct business with whomever they choose. And human defensive installations," Dr. Turner added conversationally, "continue to prevent unauthorized military vessels from entering human space. For everyone's safety, of course." Zektar's antennae twitched in agitation. "You cannot expect the Council to simply accept this new paradigm. We have maintained galactic order for millennia." Martinez moved to the center of the chamber, positioning himself where the Council's ultimatum had once been displayed. "The old order was built on intimidation and subjugation. We are offering something different." A holographic display appeared, showing a map of the galaxy with human territories highlighted in blue, Council space in red, and large sections marked in neutral green. "The Human Alliance proposes a new galactic framework," Martinez announced. "Voluntary association between sovereign species. Free trade based on mutual benefit rather than force. Collective defense for all members against external threats." "You mean human dominance disguised as cooperation," Veltar accused. "I mean exactly what I said," Martinez replied calmly. "Unlike the Council's ultimatums, our proposal comes without threats of orbital bombardment. Any species that wishes to maintain its current government structure is free to do so. Any species that wishes to join the Alliance can apply for membership through standard diplomatic channels." The chamber buzzed with conversation as delegates processed this unexpected offer. After months of economic strangulation and military impotence, many had expected humanity to demand unconditional surrender. Crystalline Singer of Depths made a cautious sound. "What guarantees would Alliance members have against human retaliation for our previous policies?" General Brown spoke for the first time, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had helped plan humanity's defensive strategy. "The same guarantee the Council offered us. None. The difference is that we have never demonstrated a pattern of destroying species that disagree with us." "This is ridiculous," Veltar declared, rising from his seat. "The Zephyrian Empire will never submit to human authority." "Then do not," Martinez said simply. "Continue as you are. Trade with whoever will deal with you. Defend your own borders with your own fleets. The Alliance does not require universal membership." Dr. Turner activated another display showing economic projections. "Of course, the mathematical models suggest that non-Alliance worlds will face increasing difficulty competing in the new economic environment. But that is a choice each species must make for itself." As the delegates studied the projections, The reality of their situation became clear. Human technology had advanced beyond their understanding. Human defensive capabilities made military solutions impossible, and human control of key trade routes meant economic isolation for anyone who refused to adapt. But unlike the Council's previous ultimatums, humanity was offering a path forward that did not require complete surrender. "How long do we have to consider this proposal?" asked a Centaurian delegate whose world's economy was collapsing without human trade. "Take all the time you need," Martinez replied. "The Alliance will begin operations with current members while keeping membership open for future applicants." Veltar looked around the chamber, seeing the resigned acceptance in his fellow delegates' expressions. The age of Council dominance was ending, replaced by something unprecedented in galactic history: genuine cooperation between equals. "This is not over," he muttered. But even he knew the words rang hollow. Martinez smiled as he prepared to leave. "No, Supreme Chancellor. It is just beginning." As the human delegation filed out of the chamber, they left behind a holographic document outlining the Alliance Charter. Unlike the Council's ultimatum months before, this document spoke of rights rather than obligations, cooperation rather than submission, and a future where species could choose their own destiny. The galaxy would never be the same. And for the first time in millennia, that was exactly what it needed. In the weeks that followed, the true scope of humanity's preparation became clear. The resistance networks that had crippled Council infrastructure were revealed to be just one part of a comprehensive strategy developed over 20 years. Human colonies throughout the galaxy declared independence and joined the new alliance. Trade agreements were renegotiated on equal terms. Species that had been oppressed under Council rule found themselves free to chart their own course. The Altarian survivors, thought extinct, emerged from hidden refuges to rejoin galactic civilization. The Proximan resistance, believed crushed, revealed that they had been working with human intelligence for a decade. 6 months after the failed peace talks, 43 species had applied for Alliance membership. The Galactic Council still existed, but as a much-reduced organization governing only those worlds that chose to maintain the old ways. President Hayes stood in the same command center where he had authorized Protocol 7. But now the screens showed trade routes instead of battle plans, diplomatic communications instead of military intelligence. "Sir," Admiral Morgan reported, "the latest economic data shows that Alliance trade has increased by 300% over pre-war levels. The new voluntary system is proving far more efficient than the Council's forced tribute structure." General Phillips nodded from his station. "And our intelligence networks report that species throughout former Council space are experiencing unprecedented levels of prosperity and technological advancement." Dr. Webb looked up from her console, where she now monitored peaceful scientific exchanges instead of military threats. "The technological sharing protocols are working better than we hoped. Species that were forced to stagnate under Council rule are making rapid advances." Hayes smiled as he looked at the holographic display showing the new galactic order. "Humanity walked away from those peace talks because we knew that real peace cannot be built on fear and domination. It can only be built on mutual respect and voluntary cooperation." On the former Council station, now serving as neutral ground for Alliance negotiations, Ambassador Martinez met with delegates from species that had once threatened to destroy humanity. "The irony," he told his staff as they prepared for another day of productive negotiations, "is that by refusing to surrender, we gave the galaxy something it never had before: true freedom." Colonel Brown, now serving as the Alliance's military coordinator, nodded. "The Council ruled through fear for thousands of years, but fear only works until someone is willing to stand up to it." Dr. Turner, busy with plans for joint scientific expeditions, added, "And once one species stands up, others find the courage to do the same." The galaxy had learned an important lesson. The strongest civilizations are not those that rule through force, but those that lead through example. Humanity had shown that it was possible to be powerful without being